earlier, like what you do for Elementor and your energy. And God, we've known each other now for like over 2 years, man. I just realized, when we first met, man, it's awesome to see, like the paths, like, the path that you went on, man. It's really awesome. And just like we're speaking about before the call, the meetups and with the community, it's like, you guys know my language. We speak the same language, and yet we're all from different parts of the world, which is dope. Just a really quick intro on, who I am real quick. I started off as a front-end developer. 6 years ago, I did not know how to use a computer. I was computer illiterate. 10 years ago, 9 years ago, I didn't even know what Google or Wi-Fi was. I was a dinosaur. I had no idea. I've only worked backbreaking jobs in construction. I never really did anything technical or thought that I could. And it wasn't until about almost 6 years from now when I made the decision. Actually, when I was in Indonesia is when I made the decision that I don't want to go back to my old jobs. I want to, I'm stuck on my phone. I'm like, I want to learn this stuff right here. And I had no idea about any of it. I just jumped head first and I went all in on it. I started off as a front-end developer, and that transitioned into design. I became a web and UI designer. I started my company 4 years ago. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary. And now I play more of the role of a creative director and more of the role of building the company, building the business. And my mission and goal is to work with other web creatives, helping other web creatives also build sustainable, successful businesses in web design and web development. And I like to geek out. I love Elementor, and that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to geek out. When Clement told me about the topic, I put some thought into it. I'm like, what if we just geek out, and like build something? Like, I'm just going to pick a random design on Dribble, not even take a look at it, not even practice or anything. And we're going to go ahead and build on a design I found on Dribble. We're going to build a page. But what I wanted to do inside this exercise was, I think what's really important with Flex. Now, Flex has been in Elementor for a while. The ability to use Flex, like it's been in there, but not all the controls, and the power was unlocked. Now with the containers, and I'll show you all, like the different things that are unlocked. And I feel like I'm still just scratching the surface of it at myself as well. But being able to utilize it as to the best of our abilities and finding opportunities to use Flex the best that we can in the whole design, in the whole situation, and being able to build a page looking for those opportunities is going to make the backend cleaner. We're going to reduce all those divs. We're going to make things, load a lot quicker. We're going to make it a lot cleaner. But here's the thing, and this is something I'm always talking about: best practices. I'm really big when it comes to best practices. And with Elementor, there's some pros and cons. One of the pros is you could do just about anything with it. But one of the cons is you could do just about anything with it, meaning you could probably build a landing page 20, 30, 40 different ways. You could do that with L, but not all the ways I believe are the best ways to do it, that there are best practices to follow, because I can make the same landing page 2 different ways, and one of them will load slower than the other one. One of them will be more clunky than the other one. One of them could also be more difficult for another designer, developer, or even a client that wants to go in and make some changes and adjustments. So what I thought would be really good for this call, what I wanted to show was my process of building a page, utilizing Flex to the best of my ability, looking for the opportunities to make everything clean. And that way it could show where the opportunities and how to look for them, because I feel like it's kind of like a mindset. Like you could have the mindset to go in and just build things and do really quick, or you can have the mindset to look for the clean ways to do it. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to be geeking out and I want you guys to jump in whenever you want. Whenever you have questions, jump in. And I gotta tell you, I probably won't have all the answers. I might have a lot of them. I probably will have a lot, but not all of them. If anybody else has an answer to it that is, like savvy with CSS, feel free to jump in, and we could also figure it out together, because that's one thing I can do. I could figure some stuff out. So with that, Clement, what's the next step? Should we just dive into it, or is there anything else to
Yes,
do?
Jeff, you can start with the, you want to live demo, right?
Yeah, let's see. I don't even know. I barely looked at it. I just chose
Okay,
like
you can
5 minutes
share
for the call.
you can share your screen too.
All right, sounds good. All right, cool. Let me close that. Yeah, no need for emails. All right, cool. So this is what I found real quick. I didn't want some fancy one. I just wanted something with the layout that I saw opportunities in. And when I saw this layout, I saw the opportunities to use Flex in it. First, the header is quite simple, but I think one of the biggest opportunities with Flex that I found is always in the header. Because before, when I first started using Elementor, we used to use columns. We used to use 1, 2 column, second column for the menu, and another column for the button, but we don't have to do that anymore. We could wrap everything up very efficiently all together, and we could reduce the divs to, I believe it's about 7 divs all together. Like it's a crazy low number. So we're going to start off with the header. The banner is pretty straightforward, title, text, button. So that's pretty easy right there. But I think right down here, this is where we could start to see some opportunities. And already when I'm looking at this, I'm already thinking, how could we do this whole section right here in just one container? Is it possible? And so that is where I'm looking at. I'm looking at how to get things done. I'm going to do everything I possibly can do. And this is how I build sites and how I work with my team as well. Because I also want my team, when we're working on it, that we all have these same systems and processes, that we're all looking at things the same way. When I'm looking at this, I want to see how I can make it all fit in one container and do everything I possibly can without having to add a second column. The same thing, column, container, whichever version we're on. We're going to use a new version, but it's the same methodology and the same way of looking at it and executing it with either one, column or container. Same thing on this one. We're going to see, how can we make all this wrap into one? Is it possible? I think it is. This image might be a little challenging, but like, we got all these different elements right here. How we're going to be able to display some out sideways, how we're going to line some up. So we're going to go through that, and then we'll probably end it off right here. We're not going to do the whole page. I think this section, these two, and then the header, and we're going to go through those. So let's go ahead and get started, and please feel free to jump in at any time. And also, Clement, if you could give me a warning on the time as well, that would.
Sure, man. No worries. We are ready. We available until 12 o'clock. No, just kidding.
It just just a heads up too, guys, I'm going on like about 2 hours sleep. I did the Elementor event last night and had to wake up to a coaching call in the morning, back-to-back client meetings. Before I was like, man, I have to fuel up. So I might be like running off caffeine and talking fast. So if I am, tell me to slow down. All right, cool. So don't worry about this page. We're going to build our own. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over and going to show here in the settings to our experiments, and we're going to make sure that it's on. By default, it is coming off. Where is it at? It's going to be up here. So by default, it's inactive. That's because it's still in the alpha, which means it's like one stage away from going live. I think it's safe to go ahead and use it now. I did like connect with the Elementor team, which has been awesome. I have to say, like, I ran to a few things with this. I wasn't sure if I was like, is this a bug? Is it not working? Is this how it's supposed to work? But the Elementor team, the developers and support were super helpful, man. I had guys helping me out like within like minutes. It was pretty dope. So I got a good understanding of what is there. There's only a few things that probably need to get fixed. So hopefully it'll go to stable soon. But yeah, we're going to leave it on active. Let's go over to our templates and start off with building a header. And I'm going to minimize this here.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah.
Arturo said, asked if do you need Elementor Pro to follow? I think it's only for the team builder, right? Elementor Pro. Right?
That's a good question. Let's find out. So there's Flex. Let's go ahead and disable it real quick. I've never built a site without Pro. I
The
feel
Flexbox
like
is, yeah. The Flexbox Elementor Free also have. But for team builder, you want to build the header, I think you need Elementor Pro.
You're correct. Yeah, Flex Container is in just the free version of Elementor. All right, cool. So let me refresh this. Okay, let's go to the theme builder. Let's go ahead and build our header. All right, so first thing you guys got to know is you can't use the existing kits or templates. They just don't work. The templates won't work with it. They disappear. So hopefully those will be getting updated, but I never really use these for headers because it's something pretty easy to build, but it's also fun. I find I like headers. I got a special passion for headers and menus. But okay, so let's go ahead and click on here. So we have these options over here now where you know they're pretty self-explanatory. You can set it up more like as a grid with multiple columns. I always like to just start off with one, unless if I already know. If I look at something, I know, okay, I'm going to need 2 or I'm going to need 4. But to be honest, it is such a rare situation to have to use 4. It is super, super rare for me. If anything, maybe these ones stacking right here, but I usually just start off with the single one. And that's what that's what the whole purpose of this is, to see how we could fit everything in one. Now, let's go ahead and drop our elements in there. You know, we got just a logo, a menu, call to action button, really simple. So I use images for my logos. Go ahead and I gotta make that small. And I want to put a color in the background just so I can see things. All right, I'm gonna drop the rest of the elements in there. Use the nav menu. And then I'm going to drop my call to action button. All right, so this is where things get interesting. And I was doing some testing. And, you know, by default, browsers, they stack things on top of each other. And by default, they go into blocks. Now, right here before the video, I created just a little snippet right here just to show how stacking elements up. Like I have elements stacked up right here, an H1, H5, a P, and a link. And if we look at this, this is all like zero CSS, how the browser works with just by default. And if we go here to our divs that are wrapping everything, we could see it's the display is blocked. Same thing over here, display is blocked. Now, we didn't change anything on here. Let me go ahead and publish this. Take a look in the front. And we can see that right here, I found out the display now, the default actually comes out flex. So we get flex right off the bat. But you guys notice that flex is still just stacking up on top. And that's because it is by default with columns. Like if we go here, where's it at? If we go down here inside our flex direction here, you can see we got a column. So by default, off the bat, you're already using flex. And just take a look at the divs right here. Now, I didn't want to get an old version because, you know, you guys might have seen already, but in case if you haven't, there would have been about 5 to 7 divs wrapping each element, but we don't have that now. So we got one div wrapping the whole container. Then we got one going into each element. And then each element just has one or two, which is a huge improvement from what we used to have like 2 years ago. I mean, it's a massive improvement. You see just two divs wrapping this link or wrapping up our menu or the button. So that's where the efficiency is. Now, if we were to add another column or another container, that would just increase those number of divs. So we want to minimize those. Now, where we want to control, let me first style this up really quick. So if I wanted the white logo. All right, I'll put this at full. Let me style it. I'm gonna put out pixels. 125 is usually a sweet spot. I want to align this to the left right here. And you can see each one of these elements too is full width, 100%. Let me go ahead and style this. All right, and then this one right here. I'm going to experiment a bit. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. All right, now if we click right here, we're going to control everything inside of our container. Now there's something you might notice here. We don't have any containers on the side. All right, there's nothing here on the side at all. Now this is something really important to note, and if we have time, I'll show you afterwards. Right now, if you were to go by default and use the sections, and then if you were to use the sections right now on the version that we have, and then switch it to containers, and then it gives you that option to duplicate, it's going to give you that extra container right there. You know what? You think it's good to show, Clement?
Yes.
All right, let me go ahead and show. It is going to be easier to see. Let me go here to back to my settings and turn off flex. All right, I'm going to refresh this and it should disappear because now containers aren't showing. Yeah, you see it's blank right here. Now, let's say I create another one here using the old-fashioned sections. Let me go ahead, and we're not going to spend too much time styling it up. I just want to add in one element right here. All right, let me go ahead and update that right now. And if I go turn this back on, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, active. All right, now we should have two sections. No, that's weird. Okay, don't know what happened to my first header. I think we'll figure it out. It might be underneath or something. All right, but say we click on here now, and now we're back in container mode. We get this option to convert to container. If we convert it, it's going to duplicate it. But check this out, when you duplicate it, you get the container that wraps it up. It's not a section, it's a container. And then you get an inner container as well. So I just wanted to show that to be mindful, because in this case, you're going to add an extra div inside there. Now, what I would do is I would just, oops, didn't mean that. I would just add a new fresh one in here, and I would drag in my elements inside there, you know, style it back up. And now we don't have that extra container. It's just one container wrapping everything. I could go ahead and delete that, and I guess we lost, I'm still figuring this out. If anybody has answers, go for it. I think I lost my original menu though. I'm sure I'll figure that out at some point. All right, cool. So let me go ahead and put back in my nav. Style that up. Let's put in the call to action button. And we're going to wrap this up really quick right here. text color. I want to make it black, and then the color, let's do yellow. All right, so now we're back to where we were before. Let me just go ahead and click on update. So now we only have one container wrapping everything. We're going to control everything from this container. If you're using an inner container, then you might want to go to the inner container, the one that's wrapping everything. But from right here, we're going to find all of our controllers here. And this is the difference. Now, we've always had Flex. We've had Flex for a while now with Elementor. The difference is we have more of these options in here, but also we have the child options as well. So this is the wrapper right here. This is what's surrounding it. These are going to control what goes on inside here. But what Flex also does is they give us options on controlling the inner, the child elements as well. So like right here, I could click on here, go to advanced. And now I have even more options in here, like this grow and shrink, you know, the different orderings, the alignment right here. So these are the elements that you can only control inside, you know, inside of it, the child elements. And I'll show you how to work these, because this is where a lot of the power comes in. And this is where it opens up a lot with the containers. Now, first, I always start with the outer, and I always work my way in. And part of my process is I like to go section by section, and I like to make everything clean. And you're going to see I got a bit of OCD, and OCD is good. Please don't ever use 17 pixels. That's something that drives me crazy. I have to use 16 pixels. All right, cool. So, you know, this is stacked on top, and they're 100% because they're by default a column with Elementor. We need to turn them into a row, and that's where this first section comes in. So most of the time, you're going to click on this right arrow to turn it into a row. And that's going to make everything line up on the side. And this is how you see Flex mostly being used, that it takes away from the regular block default where it stacks on top into this horizontal line. So you can see too, it wraps up everything. It's no longer 100%. The wrap just covers the elements. You know, that's it. And then it also leaves a bunch of space right here. Now I want to get some breathing room. So let me open this up. First thing I want to do, I want to make this full width because I want a lot of breathing room. Let me add some padding here. I'm going to put 24 on the right and left. Like I said, I got OCD. Everything I do is always in multiples of 4. If anybody has questions on that and why, I'd be happy to answer because I like OCD stuff.
What is OCD, Jeff?
It's like compulsive behavior. It's like if I see 17 pixels, it drives me bonkers. Or it's not just even in here, like in my own personal, like it's the details. It's like if a detail is off, like, you know, I see it and I have to fix that detail. Like it's all in the details. So there's different levels of OCD, dude. Mine is not the bad, mine is in the middle. Anybody else have OCD here? That's a good topic to talk about. Anybody else relate? All right, cool. So now everything is just lined up and it goes all the way to the left by default. But now we got to go to our other controller. So back to the outer container, over to the items. And now this is where we can start to control things. Now, usually I always like to start off by making everything center. And you could do that. You could either make everything go to the top. And here, let me actually make this bigger because it'll be easier to see. Yeah, let's see if we make this bigger here, just to make it all stand out. All right, now if we go to the layout, back to our items, we can make everything line up on the top. And by the way, this is like the default right here. Or you can make it go in the center, which is where you're probably going to want to use it the most. You can make it go all the way down, or you know, you could make it stretch out, which just covers the whole thing. You see this fills in the height. So usually you want to have it in the center. Let me make this back to 125. And now the next one is, this is the next part you're probably going to use the most as well. By default, it's at the flex start. You can make everything go in the middle at the end, but this is one of the ones I like to use the most. That's a space between. This makes it so you got the left element all the way to the left, this one all the way to the right. And, you know, space around, it just creates even spaces here, even space here, even space here, and so on. And then space evenly just makes this, 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 and this even right here. But this is pretty much it. You get the space in between. And right now, you don't have to use the multiple columns. That's how easy it is to build the menu. There are a couple cool things, though, I want to show real quick. And I want to show the inner sections. And this is where you want to have fun, play around, experiment. I always suggest to everybody, get really used to these controls now. Like just experiment with them, try. Like I know it's easier to use the old one, for myself included. Like I could go in and go faster with the old one, but trust me that if you were to take the time now going forward and just using these and figuring it out, it's going to pay off in the long run because you're going to get it. You're going to have a lot more options. Now, like right here, now you can see everything is spaced out. And you can see the blue line, it's wrapping the element. Now we could go ahead and style up the inner elements. And one of the ones I like is the shrink and grow. So right here on the size, underneath the advanced, we could go with the shrink or grow. Now by default, oops, that just turned it off. It should be 0, 0 by default, not showing. Okay, so when you turn it on, it shows 1 and 1. Now when you do custom, and the way this works is, let's say we want flex grow. I want to turn this at 1. It's going to fill up the whole spot. I want to do the same thing here. I'll turn that off. Let's do the same thing here. Now these are filling out the whole spaces. You see, it doesn't just wrap it all, it fills out the whole space. Let me see something really quick. 0. All right. Okay, so let me align these up now. I want to align my elements over. And this is where something like this could come in handy. Let's align it now. So we just grew the section just by going with 1. It grew the section, and now you'll see a little space, but that's just like the 20 pixels in between the widget spacing. And this one, I want to align this to the left as well. So this is something that I always had troubles with before. And now we're able to do it using the flex grow. So if we look at it, it pretty much just goes into that spot. I want this one now to move over more based on the size of the screen. And I'll explain that a little bit more. So I'm going to choose flex grow to 3 and update that. And I got to take a look at this on the outside. All right, so now it's going over more, but I'm on a big screen right here. This is a 27-inch. Now, if let me drag the screen in. Come on. Now, if we move it over, you're going to see it's going to start getting closer to that click button right there. So if you're like working on a screen that's a little bit smaller, like a MacBook Pro size, now it's going to go all the way to the left. What the Flex Grow does is it makes it go 3 times faster. This is going to grow faster 3 times than the other ones. All right, I guess it is a little bit harder to explain. So these ones grow and they change, and they all change at the same time when you leave them all at 1. But this one right here, because it's at 3, is going to take up more space and it's going to grow more. So that's why we see this size now getting smaller, and we're seeing this taking up more space. So playing with the flex grow and also the shrink as well, but the grow I find opens up a lot of opportunity to play around, especially when it comes to responsiveness. And I know it's a bit confusing, so I want to do right now is I'm going to stop the screen share and open it up for questions really quick. Plus, I want to. Is anybody here?
Yeah.
I guess I'm just talking to myself the whole time.
Yeah. Do you guys have any question for Jeff
Stop share.
before
There we
continue? I just learned about the flex grow, yeah, because I really don't understand before, but now I'm getting now better about the flex grow. So it's related with the responsive, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's about how fast it grows compared to the other one. So you can start to play with those different settings, you know, the different values in there. So instead of making everything spaced evenly, it's kind of almost doing like, I don't want to say what grid does, but almost like you could kind of like start to make some elements bigger inside, you know, inside your row.
Hmm.
See. Wow. That's
All right.
today. Thank you.
How are we doing?
Anybody have some question for Jeff? Chris?
Understood. It's like a bootstrap, right?
Can you speak louder, please, Chris?
It's like a bootstrap container from bootstrap.
Is it like a bootstrap, Jeff? Do you know about bootstrap?
Yeah, but it's been a lot of years since I used Bootstrap. It's been about 4 or 5 years. From what I know, Bootstrap uses a lot of columns, and it utilizes a lot of columns. Yeah, like, you know, I know it has a COL dash, you know, like all their classes on there. I have to take a look to refresh, but I might be wrong, but I think this is a little bit more cleaner than
Yeah.
what Bootstrap had, because I do remember Bootstrap being a lot of divs and a lot of columns. But I have to go through. I'm sure there's been updates. It's been a lot of years. It's hard for me to say. That's a good question, though, man. It's a really good question.
So basically, the grow feature is something you use to an element to make it more prominent in smaller devices, smaller screens. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. You can make the element grow more than the other ones.
Yeah.
When the screens are getting smaller, so that way it's taking up more real estate.
I see. Wow.
Okay, I
It's
think
a lot of power. There's a lot of power to this.
Right. I like that we're only using one container for the 3 elements or widgets, you know. And in the old way of doing it, we could have like 3 columns. you
big
know,
columns.
in
We can save more diff, yeah.
And how many divs would that take? This one right here, inside the container, there's only 7 divs. Like I counted them before. It's 7 divs between those 3 elements. That's pretty good compared to where it was.
Right. Nice. And I get that we could build it more faster in the old way than what we are doing right now, but I think this is worth the patience.
It is, and it starts to become a habit. You know, when you start building it and looking at it, you know, how could we make this all work with as minimal containers as possible? And when you start to approach everything like that, it becomes a habit, just like bad habits, you know, when you start cutting corners and start adding columns when columns are needed, or throwing CSS in the selector inside the widget CSS. You guys see my videos, I'm not a fan of that. But I mean, it's just like, you know, I really believe in good habits when it comes to design and development. It's really important. That was one of the things I was taught when I started. I started learning code. I learned how to build websites with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript before I even knew what WordPress was. That was like my original path into it. And when I was learning how to do HTML, CSS, I just kept hearing people say about clean code. So I was always trying to make it as clean as I can. And every time we work with it, we always find a way to tidy it up more and build a cleaner system. And I believe with Elementor, we should do the same when we're building websites, because it's going to pay off in the long run.
Right.
And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get back to geeking out, if you guys don't mind.
Please.
All right, cool. So we got this now. I'm just gonna go and just start building. No, we don't want to do that. Let's go to my dashboard. Let's go build a page out. All right, we're gonna build this page right here, Flex Home. And got an Elementor full width, we're good. So let's go ahead and edit with it. Now I do have a couple images I did not optimize yet. I use Affinity Photo. Oops. To optimize my images, and I could do these in just a second. Let me take this down to 1600. Move this down to 80. More aggressive, embed meta, take out the profile, close, export, and we're gonna call this Flex 1. See, that's OCD. I have to spell it right. All right, this one, just want to get a couple, 1600, 132. Now, I try to make my banner images under 150 megabyte KB. Cool, now we're good here. Let's go ahead and, all right, I need to move this out the way. So I'm gonna use my example. Let me just go, I'm not gonna do any of this fancy stuff. I'm just gonna put a quick banner, some text, and a call to action. So I really wanna get down to these sections right here. All right.
Jeff, while you're doing the hero, there's a question. Can we use Flex on a client website now, or it is not yet stable?
Go for it. Unless if it's a super complicated website, like I find Flex has been working, but some situations dealing with complex layouts has, you know, I found a bug that's in the that was in the custom sizing that kind of like held me back on only in a few situations, but it should be fine right now. I would get started. Go for it, man. It is all good. All right, so we got this image, and I thought this image was funny because it looked like the same girl looking at herself. Let me see here. Now you can do this a couple different ways. I don't really use a minimum height too much. I'll adjust this, but I just want to get this started right here. Let me add in my elements. Let's see here. Okay, title. Looks like 2 titles right there. But I'm going to do 1 title. I don't want to do 2 because I don't have to reduce it. This is another thing I do, and I have to check it out, but I remember back last time I checked it was one last div using a paragraph in the heading tag. I have to double check to see if it's still that way. Forum, some. Do you know anything about that, Clement? About
what?
div? the div count between a paragraph and a heading widget?
Not really sure. Julian, do you know about this?
No, not sure, but I know there's a lot. Used to be a lot, but now have been improved a lot. But not sure that how these flex will improve that.
You know, we're not going to use it without it. What's the other one? Dedicated hope, healing and recovery. Right. All right, Yoda, you tell him. That's my boy Yoda. All right, typography. I'm going to make this super big. Do some body text. Do you guys all use do you set up everything first? Do you guys set up your site settings before starting a project? The global colors and global fonts?
Yes. I don't know others. I don't know about others.
All right, cool, cool. So we got this. Let me add some more spacing up here. You see, they look like the same lady, right? Or is it just me not getting enough sleep? Kind of like she's looking at herself. All right, this is really funky. All right, I'm not going to get too carried away. Okay, so we got this one now all aligned in the center. I still need to let me close all this down. Move that over. My button down. Okay, so we could align everything up in the center. Again, it's all in the middle. Usually I like to put space from the call to action button to give that button some breathing room. Usually 24 or 32 pixels is a good amount. Let me just style this up a bit so it looks complete. Button text, color. Let me go ahead and do a white color. This time I'll make the background stand out. Oh wait, no. All right, make the background stand out a bit. All right. And then from here now we could go ahead and use our controllers. Again, so we could use this as a column. We don't need to do a row. We use it as a column, just like it is by default, but we could align everything up in the middle. So everything is centered. You see these centered right here. And this one, I guess we have to go in and center that as well, just to make sure. And then from here, we'll just go ahead and do that. Oh wait, no, pixels. I always want to do pixels, not percentage when doing this. And let's see, 800. See, this is where my OCD kicks in, guys. My team knows if they leave this at 807, it would drive me crazy. It's just like, take it down to 800. You know, like it's those little touches, you know, those little touches and those little good practices and good habits that make everything cleaner. Because I guarantee you this, if you start doing this and every pixel you make clean, you build that system, your designs and layouts are just going to look a whole lot cleaner. Now, for this right here, we could always, you know, add some line height on it to build that space, you know, maybe like 1.5, you know, and then let's say right here, if we had that squiggly line, you wanted to put that squiggly line underneath it. In a case like that, I might go ahead and use a position. I don't think I have any images ready to go for that. Let me see what I have in my image library. Nothing much. But just for an example, is that a PNG? Yeah, who cares? PNG. All right, it's close enough. I would probably do something like this. Let me make my size of it. And I would just go in and use an absolute on it. I would just drag this under right here. And I would try, you see, this is just ways you can keep it all in one column. And in fact, I would probably have to navigate and put this one on top of, Z index. There we go. So I would do something like that, to keep everything in line. And I really think that using at times elements in absolute could also be helpful instead of creating different columns or containers. So I'm just going to delete this right now. Don't need it. All right, next section right here. Now, this is where we're really going to have to get creative and see how we could get all this to work. This one looks like fun. All right, cool. Now, let me delete that. I just want to take a look at this. That over. All right, so this next section, I'm going to just start off with the one container. And I always start off my containers and I set up the padding on them. I have my own system. I know there's some people use pixels, some use percentage. I'm not going to say one is right and one is wrong. I personally use pixels, but I know percentage works for others. All I could think of is just to be consistent. For this one, I'm going to give some breathing space, 80 and 80. And now for the first element right here, I could already see I could use an icon box for this. Icon boxes and image boxes, I think, are great to use as much as possible with Flex. And I'll show you why. So right here, we don't need the icon. Services. Right, and then what was that one? Our departments. Now, it depends on your SEO situation. You know, you might have to make some changes, or you might not be able to use this if SEO is a big factor. If just one of the, say just one you were targeting is a keyword and another one wasn't, you could always wrap one up, inside there and just do some additional CSS. If you can, I would try to do it as much as possible, unless if you can't do it. Now, let's go ahead and move this. Wait, okay, the next one is going to be this call to action button right here. So let's drop this button down. And copy, paste the style to save time. All right, style this one up. Let's see, I want to style it to the left. The title, we're going to make this subheader. The description, we're going to make that medium header. And now we could go ahead and make this into a row. And then with that, we can go ahead and put space between and to make it in the center. So now they're lined up. Let's take a look. How's it? You know what? These are lined up at the bottom. So in this case, then I would go ahead and I would use the flex in. So now this is lined up to the bottom right here. Let's go take a look at it again. And we're able now to create this without it. And the next thing I would like to do is I want to use a flex grow because I want to make sure this is taking up the whole space. Grow. Oh, grow. Yeah, that's right. Not the order. Okay, this is growing. This one isn't growing. See, I knew something was off. Let me try it again. They should be taking the even space. Oops. Okay. Align this to the left right here. So these are taking up the whole space. Now I want to try something else. I think I need to wrap it, but let's go ahead and experiment. Now I'm experimenting right now, guys. I did not try this out before. Now I'm going to go with another icon box. I'm going to drop it underneath. Come on, go underneath. Okay, let me use Navigator. Okay, I don't want that. I want this to break. So, okay, Flex Grow not working right here. Turn off Flex Grow. That didn't work. I have another idea. And we're going to use width. I'm going to turn this into 50%. This one too, I'm going to turn into 50%. And that breaks right there. Now here, I should be able to break it down if I do the flex wrap. Let me go to my layout right over here and I want to wrap it. Okay. All right, this happened to me before.
Sometimes, based on my experience, if we put 48%, something like that, you can.
Yeah, I think this is a bug though. I think it is a bug because I had this happen and I had to start over and then
Me too.
yeah, all right. And I think right here too, like in the items, you see by default is 20 pixels. So if you go to 0, but it's supposed to, if you have it at wrap, it's supposed to. See, this is like, I think one of those bugs right there. Let me go ahead and create a new column and just drop them in there. Okay, at 50. Whoa. It's doing some funny stuff. Something's happening here. Hey, bud. My dog. Didn't do revisions. All right. Let me turn that off. You know what, guys? Action button. Something happened in there. And honestly, I don't know what it is. I've had it happen to me before. Let me try something out with custom 50%. This one too. Oh, I think I know what it was. I think you're supposed to leave it in a container. I mean, in a column. 50. No, that's not it. Okay, because the way this is supposed to behave, when you put 50, they're supposed to stack up on the side. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to behave right there. All right, like I said, it's not the stable one. Let me not do any copying and pasting. I found that happened to me before when I did the copy and pasting. Let me just go ahead and do this real quick. Right. So this one, I don't want this. This one's a small title. This one will go to the right. We're going to make it button and background color. Well, let's go ahead and make it this, just to make it easy. Now I'm going to make these, my controllers line up on the bottom. All right, now here, it should be able, it shouldn't affect it. Yeah, see, okay, it's not affecting it now. And it's evenly 50-50. That's one of the challenges I face. I'm going to keep working on it till I get it. Let's go ahead and try something else out real quick. Yeah, navigator. All right, now, let me see. I'm going to put 100% for this. Full width. There we go. That's what I was looking to do right there. By clicking on the wrap, it made it so that way this stays at the 50, this stays at the 50. And if you add another element, then it won't break it. And then here we could do, let me see. Let me just try it out real quick. Instead of full width, let me do custom. And we got 3, so that's going to be 33.333. So 33.333. And then if we go ahead and duplicate, now we got the 3 underneath. Here, let's go ahead and see what we need. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete, just style one of these up right here. Let's go ahead and do the content, upload it. Let's put our own SVG here. Yeah, how does this look here? Okay, so just a little line of lorem ipsum. A little bit less than that. And same thing here. We could leave this, that's all right. We want it like that, go to the left. Spacing, yeah, I can't do 15. I have to do 16. 15 is just a weird number for me. Icon, let's make this a little bit bigger. Maybe 72. Right. So title, I should have a small header for that. Description. Got my body text right here and our spacing. Let me bring that in. Maybe at 6. All right, we need some spacing from the icon. So you could probably do 20. Now let's add some padding right there, give some white space and some depth. From here, I'm going to do, okay, we're going to have to remove some of that then. 20. Smaller so it doesn't break. It doesn't matter if the line breaks. All right, I'm going to go to my box shadow. I want to give it 10. This is like my own little system that I've always used with them. 10, 40, -5. And I do -5 because I know it's an odd number for me. I usually do things by 4, but I did 10, then half of the 10 I wanted to bring out under. When you start like developing systems and having consistent numbers that you're working with, it really helps out because you can start doing math with them. And there's a lot of situations where knowing the math and being able to do some simple math will make everything more even. And then I do it at a 0.1, which is 10% opacity. All right, and then I should be able to duplicate this. Okay, cool. Let me duplicate again. And then from here, I'm going to do a margin to the right 12. You know what? No, I'm going to do 10. I want to keep 20. This one, I'm going to do margin left and right, both 10 on the right and left. And then this one, I'm going to do it on the left. So now we have a gap of 20 pixels in between. We have this gap right here that we need to solve. Let me take a look. We got 6 things. So what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to add some margins to the top because that's going to help out when I drop everything. So I'm going to add, let me see here. I want, how much spacing do they have here? They got healthy spacing. All right, let me go ahead and add some healthy spacing here. 40 should be good. You do 40 as well. I'm just doing it just to keep it consistent. All right, now let's go ahead and duplicate that. But we don't need 40 here. I want to drop this down to 20. And then I want to duplicate this 2 more times. And that section all right there is wrapped up inside one container. So we're able to take all this and wrap it up in one container. If you wanted to add an image like this, say put some graphics in there, you either use that as a background image or you could add it, you know, and just use, you could add it like either at the top or at the bottom, and then use an absolute positioning so it stays all wrapped up. Though I probably would try to use it in the background because, again, if you can utilize that background, you're going to reduce any chances of having more divs. And then when it comes time to making it responsive, say inside this situation, ooh, that got crazy big. Need to fix that. That's weird. Just turn it to 1. This is okay like this, but say for something like this, I would want to turn it down to 2 and 2. So I would go to them and I would go down to the pixels. And again, this is where the math comes in right here. Because if I want, you know, 3, if we wanted a row of 4, we put at 25%, anything that adds up to 100. Right here, though, we want to have it at 50. Same thing here. And so on. We can't copy and paste it right here like I would like to because we had to get the margins on it. Now, the easy way would have been to just put, you know, 10 margins around the whole thing. But what that would have done was you would have had 10 margins off from this line, or 10 pixels off from lining up. And for me, whenever I'm doing anything, 10 pixels means a lot. 4 pixels means a lot. Like, I like to get things pixel perfect, and I try to do things fast, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer to do it right. Yeah. The pixel 50. All right, and we need to remove this and 10 and 20. Then this one should also already be 10 and 20. So now we're good right here for tablet, and then go into phone. Now we can just go ahead and make this 100. In fact, all of them 100. Now, I'll probably do something like add some spacing below. I like to give some breathing room, so maybe like 32 pixels. Right here, I probably would do something depending on how big the call to action is. I'd either do full screen, or, you know, I go ahead and do it all to the left, make everything line up here. Then also 100, 100. All right, and then I check the spacings between each one. Does anything need to be adjusted? Yep, right here, this one needs to be adjusted. We don't want that to be off. A lot of times I see websites and you will see, I could see the spacing. Like, once you have the trained eye, you can see that, okay, this is small spacing and this one's a bit bigger, so we don't want to miss those. Also, we got left and right on these. So actually, we got to go through all of them. Let's go ahead and make each one of these. This one could be 40 on the top. Oops, we don't want that. Okay, we got 40 on the top, but we want to remove the right and left as well. You see here, this one has that, and then we could put 20. Put 20 here. We got 20 right there. And yeah, we're good right there with that. So, got an update. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, we didn't do cover. Sorry, OCD kicking in, guys. Didn't do cover on this? No. All right. All right, we didn't do the mobile for that. I don't want to worry about it, but I think this is the important part right here. Getting all this wrapped up into one. Now we have it, it all breaks up. And then the final step I would do is I would test it out on the phone. How do these look on the phone? Is there enough space? And then however it looks on my phone is how I make my adjustments. Now we have this other section here, but I think with this right here, I think that showed a lot to it. There are other things to experiment with. Like, it might be cool to have this down on the bottom. I don't know if that could happen though. But I know sometimes there are some things. All right, so check this out real quick. I think this is cool. I'm going to be really quick with this one right here because we don't need to do too much on it. Let me do, actually, let me start off with the image. All right, full. And let me do something, just one of these. All right, I'm going to make this go to a left, and I'm going to actually use this width, not this one right here. I'm going to use this width. No, not full custom, and at 50%. And now let's go ahead and do title. And let's do a paragraph. Okay. And this one has actually, let me delete that. We could go over and let me do this one as well as 50. All right, and let's turn this into a row. And then right here, let me go ahead and duplicate this. Oh, I didn't want to do that. What was I thinking to do? I had something in mind. I wanted to make this would actually be kind of fun. Go here. Huh. You know what? Let me go put that there. I'm experimenting now, guys. And oh yeah, that's why I want to look at the order. $50-50. Wait, why isn't that going? Clement, do you know why this isn't going? It's the same thing. I feel like there's a bug in this, man. You know, just like what happened above over here. All right.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
so.
gonna, I'll go probably, yeah, it'll take a while to geek out, but you know how sometimes, like we usually have here responsive, we used to have that reverse. You see, it's not there anymore. I just realized that. It would say reverse column on mobile or reverse column on tablet. So we don't have that here. So now we actually got to use it in the container settings. And right here in the order, where is it at? So in the yeah, so you could reverse it around, you could change it all around. Okay, I'm running out of steam, and I think you guys saw me geek out enough already on this, and I want to see what your guys' thoughts on it. All right.
Thanks,
See a
Jeff.
lot.
Kevin say love it. Okay, there's a question for you. Okay, on the chat. Does your website designing process involve designing first on Figma or Adobe XD, then Elementor, or do you design right off the Elementor builder?
Good question. So normally we do design inside here. You know, like one of our designs will start off because we do strategic design. We do UI. Oh wait, I'm not doing a screen share anymore. I was opening something up.
Yeah.
So usually, you know, like we start off with UIs, user flows, wireframes. So this is like a project we're working on right now. But it is for a bigger client. So with a client, like, you know, when they are a bigger size, we just take the time for the user flows, mapping out the architecture, putting together the designs right here. We'd put together, you know, a round of designs, and then we'd sometimes even do an additional one. So like this is a design that's ready to go into development right now. Bam. So this is a design right here, and we're going to be doing this middle one in there. So this is how our design process looks right here. But with that said, I am starting to experiment more with designing an Elementor because I've had to make some really quick sites for friends. And I was able to make sites really fast, and they were just as good as the ones we spent 2 months on. So it's making me rethink our whole process. I think what's important, in the design process is the thought part, the strategy and the planning. If you could design an Elementor, that is fantastic, but definitely take time to learn about wireframes, user flows, and how to structure the website, because that is going to ultimately give the best results for the client and their business.
All right, thanks.
Jeff, there's a question from Nike Taylor. Hi, Nike. Is there a reason why you are using PX for margins and spacing instead of percentage?
There is. I find that I have more control and consistency with pixels. Like I know the pixel is going to stay that size. I don't really like to use margins that much. Just part of like my system, I try to use padding as much as possible and only margins where it's needed. Only if I need to push something away. So I'm very conscious about if am I trying to add space to the element and add space within it, or am I trying to push something away? And only if I need to push something away is when I'll use a margin. Now on my sections, I'm very adamant to never use margins for sections. That is the one thing that I could go on record and I'm confident to say that it shouldn't be done. That is a bad practice, because if you use a margin on a section, the sections should be stacking on top of each other. Behind the section is the body, the page. We don't really want the body or the page to show. You want to stack things on top so it's like nice, even, and clean. If you use margins, you're pushing them away, which is opening that body and the back part to come out. If you're on a white background, you might not notice it, could get away with it. But then again, it just comes down to good practices and, cutting corners and developing bad habits. I use the pixels personally because it just works with my designs. It works with the styles that I use. And before I even start a project, I already plan out, are we doing 60 and 60? Are we doing 80 and 80 or 100 and 100? So I already know, and then I use that consistently throughout. It's okay to use percentages though. It's totally fine, as long as they're consistent and the same, and it works for you. So I think either one of them is a good practice and good habit, as long as they are consistent and not mixing it up. I want to mix up percentages and pixels, keep it consistent. Good point, Ale. Using the animated headline. Yeah, that's right. Nice one, nice one. So Glenn's got a funny story about using Flexbox with a client. I like to hear that. I love funny client stories.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was just trying to use Flexbox for that specific client, and I was kind of finding it hard to follow the design using the Flexbox. So I went ahead and turned off the Flexbox in the back end, and panicked I panicked when I saw the design was not there anymore, or the page that I was working on wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
and then and then there was no way for me to use the sections anymore, and I kind of had to really finish the project using Flexbox.
Yeah, I also panicked the first time my design disappeared. I was like, where did it go? And right now it didn't come back. My header disappeared. God, that was a
Yeah, that's why that's a good thing there was a revision manager. I when I turned Flexbox, and then my design or my work didn't show up, I used the revision manager and it went back to normal, you know. But I had to finish it using Flexbox, so it was a really good experience for me to learn, force myself to learn.
Yeah, it's the best way when we have to force ourselves, and that revision thing is a lifesaver for sure.
Right.
There's something that I
Jeff?
just thought I drew a blank. Yo, Clement.
Yeah, I think for on the last demo, maybe you want to show us about uh, the order, right? For especially on the mobile version. I think you intend to show us the order. For example, on the desktop, you already use the heading and then the paragraph and then the picture,
Yeah.
and then you want to order in the mobile, right? I think
Yeah,
so.
I was trying to get it. Yeah, sure. I could do that really quick, but I'm not going to. There's something I want to
But
do, but I
maybe,
gotta experiment with it though to
yeah.
make it work.
Or maybe you can do on for the navigation menu, because sometimes alt method we are using height and height the button, right? Or we created two different button for desktop and mobile for the alt method, but now we don't need to create two version of button,
Button
because we
inside.
can use the order.
Do you mean the call to action button that's in the header, the menu?
Yeah. Sometimes for example, just now you created the header, the
Yeah.
CTA is at the end of the header, right?
Yeah.
But on mobile, sometimes we want the mobile hamburger in the end of the header. So we have to switch with the hamburger and also with the CTA.
Got you. Okay. So also, or you might want to put a pop-up right there for your mobile menu. All right, so let's see. If I were to be building this out right here, I usually make my mobile when I get to tablet. Oh, what is happening? I need to fix that. So I usually make it thin. So what I would do right here is I would just hide the button. So there's two things I would do. The first one, if I wanted to use, just keep everything inside the Elementor thing, I would just hide this button right here. Responsive, hold on, tablet. And you can't see it right here, but as long as let me see, align this to the right, it's going to go all the way over to the right. So we're good right there. And let me just color this in. Let's see here, toggle button. All right, so we'll just leave it like that. Oof, that dropped down. All right. All right, cool. So, and then you don't have to even worry about it if you go to mobile. It should automatically, yeah. Where before it used to break automatically, so it doesn't break automatically. But maybe you want this on the other side and you want the logo on the right. So you would still control it in the container right here, the outer container. I believe it's in, yeah, it's in here. So we could change that right here with the reverse columns. So that's one way to change. And then, you just have to put that over there and align that to the right. So that's one way. I think I know what you mean. There's also another way to control, I think, inside here, the order.
Yeah, sometimes we want to show also the CTA on the mobile. I mean, alt method, when we use section and column, sometimes we have to create two CTA. One is for the desktop and one is for mobile. But now, because we already have the order function, we don't need to create two CTA for the mobile. We just
I see
order
what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, let me go ahead and rearrange that over here. Here to the left. Get this, go over to the right. And we want to show this, so not hide it. We want to show it, responsive, let's show. But let's make this thing really small though too. So let me do the typography. I'm going to do 0.9. Let me do the spacing on it. Padding 6. All right, and maybe 12. All right, so maybe you got something like this and want the button to show. Is that what you mean, Clement? You want to rearrange?
Yeah,
it?
man.
Huh. There we go. So yeah.
Yeah.
Switch it around. Okay. Cool. I'm out of gas, man.
Yeah, I just want to show others that the order function, yeah, because we can display a different order with on the different mobile on the different screen size.